Welcome back, dear traders. Watch this video to find out with what sentiment Wall Street is closing this trading week. Despite positive economic data, the major stock indexes fell to close with confident gains. Wall Street indexes closed yesterday with minor changes. The Dow Jones was the only index to close with a 0.08% uptick. The Nasdaq shed 0.58% and the S&P 500 slipped 0.7% to close at 4,207 points. All of them traded in the green in the New York pre-market. The S&P 500 is expected to trade in the intraday corridor between 4,190 and 4,280 points. Yesterday, investors found out about easing factory inflation in the United States. So they cherish hope that inflation will ebb away and the US Fed will soften its monetary tightening. The stock market perked up but was not able to maintain growth until the end of the trading day. Why? A burst of optimism was dampened by statements from analysts who say it's too early to celebrate because inflation is still way above the target level of 2%. Tonight, investors are alert to the preliminary consumer sentiment index by the University of Michigan. Notably, stocks of the high-tech giants such as Tesla and Nvidia rose 1% in the pre-market as investors are again interested in risky assets. According to estimates of the Bank of America, investors bought shares worth $7.1 billion in the last 7 days. American stocks logged the biggest weekly investment growth since December 2021. American banks such as the JP Morgan, Chase & Co. and the Goldman Sachs have been extending their rally for 6 weeks straight. Both of them gained 0.4% in the pre-market. The companies with a mega capitalization, namely Apple, Tesla, Microsoft, Amazon and Meta, traded higher in the New York pre-market. Eventually, the US dollar index is regaining its footing today after a long losing streak. It traded at about 105.50 in the pre-market, and its intraday corridor is defined between 105.20 and 105.90. The greenback is gaining ground amid the weakness of its peers in the basket. The euro shed 0.39% to 1.0278 against the US dollar. The pound sterling dropped 0.56% to 1.2122 against the US dollar after the UK GDP report logged a 0.6% contraction in the GDP in June and a 0.1% downtick in the second quarter. What did investors find in the economic calendar for the United States today? Input prices in the US declined by 1.4% in July on months, following a 0.3% increase a month ago, lower than market expectations for a 1% drop. It's the first decline in input prices since December 2021. Fuel prices tumbled by 7.5% from a 6.2% surge in the previous months. Import prices rose 8.8% in annual terms. Exports prices fell 3.3%, following a 0.7% rise in June, much steeper than the expected 1.1% contraction. Again, it is the first drop in export prices for the recent 7 months and the sharpest fall since April 2020. The Fed funds futures indicate a 34% chance of a rate hike by 75 basis points in September, whereas the probability was measured at 68% earlier this week. Investors moderated their forecast amid the statistics, but Fed speakers again dispelled the market optimism. Mary Daly said on Thursday that a rate hike by 50 basis points next month makes sense in the light of recent economic data, but she would be ready to vote for a sharper rate hike if necessary. The USD CAD pair is trading higher today. The currency pair was trading at about 1.2790 at the moment of recording this video. And the intraday calendar is between 1.2760 and 1.2810 for today. The economic calendar for Canada is empty this week. Hence, investors are evaluating the whole picture. After the US CPI revealed waning inflationary pressure, investors downgraded their forecast for the Bank of Canada, and there is a smaller chance now that the regulator will increase interest rates by 0.75% next month. Nevertheless, the market assumes that the target overnight rate will be raised to 3.50% in the coming months, hence climbing above 2 or 3%, which is viewed as neutral by the central bank. As for the oil market, crude is trading in the red because investors are again stoking fears of a recession in the global economy. With this pessimistic sentiment, Brent crude slipped 2% to trade at $97.57 a barrel. WTI sank 2.1% to trade at $92.22 a barrel. Early recession fears forced OPEC to downgrade its forecast for oil demand for this year. The forecast was cut by 260,000 barrels per day to 3.1 million barrels. On the contrary, the International Energy Agency increased its forecast by 380,000 barrels to 2.1 million barrels per day, citing a transition from gas to crude oil. Despite Bitcoin's efforts, it failed to overcome and settle above 25,000. Today, the crypto is trading at nearly 23,839 points, having lost 1.5% in the last 24 hours. Ethereum is again the focal point in the crypto market. Developers of the second popular cryptocurrency said when exactly Ethereum would shift from the proof-of-work mechanism to proof-of-stake. It could happen on September 15, 16, and 20. Dutch authorities arrested a 29-year-old man in Amsterdam who is suspected to be a Tornado Cash developer. He was allegedly involved in concealing criminal financial flows and the money laundering through crypto mixer Tornado Cash. He will have to go through an investigation, and Bitcoin is expected to fluctuate in the intraday corridor between $23,800 and $24,600. In case the price goes beyond any of the borders, it might retest either $23,200 or $25,000. And this is how Wall Street is closing this trading week. We wish you to live within nice profits for the weekend, no matter what direction the market will follow. See you online on Monday.